I think college radio is important because it's important to have a place to foster creativity and a platform for people to get their message and their voice out. And I think college radio is a lot like rock and roll, where it's power put into the hands of people and just you and me and just figuring this thing out and being able to like learn and work and play in in a professional environment where we're still making cool things.
College radio offers a platform that I believe is so unique and nearly impossible to find anywhere else. Genuinely, I've never felt as at home or welcome anywhere. It really puts emphasis on giving a voice to the voiceless that is so priceless and so intangibly valuable. No amount of money or experience or success can ever complete the feeling of being given a voice when you've spent your entire life not having one.
I think college radio is so important because it not only helped me find my voice, but also helped so many other people find their voice. I also think it's so important because not only does it help you communicate better, it helps you find your confidence, and it helps you feel more comfortable with yourself.
I think that college radio gives an opportunity to smaller artists, especially to be able to showcase their music, especially, considering that nowadays we have things like social media where it's important to like promote yourself and everything. But I think that radio in a way gives power back to, where it all started, which is the students, and especially in college campuses. I think that, such a diverse community deserves to be heard, and I'm really glad that college radio gives that.
I think college radio is very, very important, especially it can be a launch pad for so many careers for people to look into what they want to do in life. Definitely it's a great launch pad for going into the entertainment industry because how WMSC is set up, it's set up to teams. And when you go into the real world, you'll see different departments. And I think that aspect of how WMSC is set up is so valuable.
It helped me work with people. I think that's the biggest one. I don't think I ever found myself in a spot at WMSC where I ever dealt with someone I didn't like, but I've always, you know, you always deal with someone new at some point, whether you're coming in brand new as an ADJ learning to train, or you're coming in as someone who's training ADJs, or even when you start working with other teams. You might not be as familiar with someone, if you're like I was working on the music team for the first year or so I was here. I wasn't really familiar with a ton of the people on the sports team or programming or marketing or anything like that. But you start to learn about those people. You start learning work with them, and even if you only do a bare minimum, you start to be able to have that confidence to say like, okay, I can work with this person. I know what they do. I'm familiar with what their group is going to do, and kind of get the confidence to you know be more personal and talk to more people. Like when you go into a new job, it's always tough to meet new people and become. You don't even need to be friends with them and just become friendly with them. And WMSC kind of forced me and forced a lot of people in a good way to talk to each other, get to know each other. And I think that's a really valuable skill that people don't realize is so important going forward in life, especially when, you get a new job and a lot of people get jobs in places they've never been before. So WMSC really helped me have a lot more confidence in being able to communicate with others and form bonds and relationships with others.
I've had a varied career. After I left Montclair, I was in TV. I worked for CBS. I worked for HBO. Eventually, I started my own business. I owned a digital marketing agency. I worked in public relations for 20 years. And I think what they all had in common was, and what Montclair kind of taught me was that the audience was important. In terms of communicating a message to an audience and communicating a message to the right audience. So those are kinds of skills that I learned. I mean, I know at the time in Montclair, you know, we were just playing music and sort of, you know, amusing ourselves in a way. But at the same time, you know, we were taught to like do a structured show and be able to present yourself and speak. These are things also. I've been a paid speaker. I've spoken in front of, you know, rooms full of ballrooms filled with people. And I think, you know, to be able to speak and talk and like I said, present yourself, I think that was something I really learned that really kind of helped me with everything.
Oh, yeah, that's a great question. Some of the lessons that WMSC has taught me is that you can't do everything. Like I feel like with radio, there's so many amazing different opportunities and different avenues you can go down. And I remember in the beginning of the year, I wanted to do it all, and I feel like it's taught me that like focusing on things that like you love and like putting all of your stuff into that instead of spreading yourself too thin is a great way to like stay stay like grounded and in your work and yourself, because having the radio there is incredible because it's a great form of self-expression, but it needs to be like it needs to be there. It needs to still like have that like beautiful aspect of fun. It can't like become like, you know, like I don't know, something that it should be something that you want to do, not something that you feel forced to do. And I feel like it's taught me that because it just feels like pure fun to me, and I feel like that's a very great attribute of it. I've also learned a lot of like responsibility, especially with like being a part of teams and having deadlines and like making like projects and like making work and like newscasts. I feel like there's like a level of like professionalism that comes along with it, and like how we're all here to like contribute to one thing. So definitely teamwork, leadership.
Oh boy, timing is everything. That's a big thing that has kind of followed me kind of to SiriusXM and to just everything, everywhere, even like other jobs. Like it really is a big part of radio and broadcasting, anything. I think there's something really confrontational about broadcasting as a medium, and I think that's not really something you can understand until you've done it, until you've had a chance to do it in any capacity. So I think that college radio really is a great way to learn that.
I think the most useful thing that anybody at WMSC can know is that a lot of things are cyclical in nature. There are going to be times where, let's say you do bad on a test, and you're like, oh, I don't know what I'm going to do with anything anymore. I feel I'm going to fail out of everything, because it's easy to just kind of go down that slope. Maybe it's not a test. Maybe it's you mess up something on air. It could be anything, even further than education or the station. There are going to be mistakes in life, in school, in professional things, but really it's all a cycle where it may be bad this one moment, but keep pushing through and you try to learn from it, which is also extremely important. You have to learn from the mistakes that you are inevitably, and it's okay to make them, going to make, and recognize that better times are coming if you stick with it.
I think the medium of radio has certainly took a plunge, but I really don't want to see it continue on the downward trend because I think it's so much fun. And I'm someone who likes to listen to radio even before I join the radio station here at Montclair. And I personally want to continue doing so. I feel like there's a much better feeling listening to a DJ, feeling like you're connecting to someone even if you're not with them, than it is just perhaps like streaming music or something like that. I feel like it is just this emotion that it evokes, and it's a feeling like no other that you don't get in other platforms. And because of that, and I feel like because of the spirit of college radio and people just so driven by all of the different topics that we talk about, I would love for WMSC to continue long beyond my existence here or anything.
I think a lot of people really take for granted radio as a whole and a medium. I think is people say who say it's dying clearly don't realize that radio is still very utilized today, and it is very much something that will continue to be used, whether or not in the facet of what they think it'll be used for. Uh, to answer your question, no, I don't think radio's dying. And I think it takes people going to college radio, finding that interest in radio, and then moving forward into a career path in radio to keep radio alive. And that's a big component also of college radio. And on top of that, do I think WMSC is going to last another 57 years? I want WMSC to last another 100 years. I want WMSC to be here till the ends of time, because of course it will. Of course it will. It's 90.3 WMSC Upper Montclair. It is Montclair's alternative rock radio station. It's going to be around forever.
So, yes, 100% WMC will be here for another 57 years. I remember when I graduated, the first thing my cap says is that I'm like radio. I'm not dying, I'm just improving. We find different ways to be more, I guess, with the times, especially nowadays, everyone's into podcasting. And yeah, we're live radio, which is, I think, still great, because there's times where people are going to run out of, that podcasting time. Like, I went through this podcast, it's done already. But when it comes to radio, we're here all the time. You don't have to wait till next week to listen. You can, every day there's something new. There's a new program, there's a new show. And I think it's far from dying. I think it's getting stronger than ever, especially with WMSC. What I've seen so far after I graduated, it's gotten very creative here. I've seen a lot of people do amazing things at the station. And I know in 57 years in the future, it's going to be still amazing and even better.
I believe that WMSC will be here in 57 years. It may not be in this form. People have been saying that radio is dying for decades. Radio is transitioning. It is different now than it is when I was here at WMSC. It's different now than it is when I started at WCBS 35 years ago. It's different than it was 5 years ago. That's the beauty of it. And that's what's great about being an adjunct professor, is that I'm trying to give my students, I'm trying to show my students that they have these skills to do something with this. So it's traditional radio is not anything like it was even just several years ago. It's a constantly evolving thing. The thing that keeps it alive is that you have people that are really passionate about it and they love what they do. And every year you have new students that come into a college radio station and walk in and go, you know what, I'm home. That happens every year. And they could potentially go on to be in broadcasting, to be successful in whatever they're going to do. But they don't know that they love it until they walk in. But every semester, especially every fall, first general meeting, you'll find those students that walk in and just say, like I did, I didn't know this was here. This is great. I didn't know this was here. And it's that attitude and it's that passion that we all have that keeps it going, and it is going to keep it going.
I can't really say yes or no to any of that, because I do think there are still great things in radio that we can use in, like, radio. It will be around. It will be around, because as long as cars are around, radio is going to be around. That's all I got to say. But I love the radio landscape has very much changed. Especially, I could go on tangents about sports radio and how 20 years ago it was the people involved might be more, they would prepare things, have more like arguments. Now it's kind of just, do you have the hottest take, which it affects it does affect the product that comes out, and I think it is leading to radio kind of going down the drain, I guess you could say. But I think radio will be around for, I don't even know when, but 57 years definitely. I think it's still an important thing. Seeing the station, seeing the amount of people, especially this year, that joined this radio station, it's incredible, and it's shown me so many people are still interested in this, and so many people are still interested in getting on air, playing their music. I think that radio is not going anywhere.
I would love if WMSC was around for another 50 years. Do I think radio overall has had some hiccups over the years? Yeah, but I actually believe that like radio is on an incline. I think maybe college radio and people like us coming into this will help it, live longer, maybe give it a little CPR. But I don't think that it's gonna ever be obsolete. I don't think it's ever gonna die. Everything ends up coming back around. People now are obsessed with vinyl. People now still love CDs. Cable television is still going strong. So as long as people always reach for things that are nostalgic in a way. And I think radio gives you that experience that your Spotify DJ and that your Apple Music can never really fully live up to. And having a live guest on the radio and being live is something that, doesn't just die over time. I don't think people lose interest in it like that.
As much as it can be either hard or stressful, you may not immediately know what you want to go into. It is such a transformative experience as long as the people there are willing to help you. And I have seen it happen where some people don't find that, and it's because they do not have the environment to be able to make their own confidence grow or their own confidence in the station grow. As long as there are people who are still willing to teach and willing to make this place their home, everyone should join WMSC.
Get on air, make friends, come down, talk to people who have a show already, and you'll just be on air within a week. I joined the Morning Buzz right after World College Radio Day was in late September, early October, and I'm still on the Morning Buzz, and I'm on the student management team. I didn't know 3 years ago when I joined WMSC that I was going to be student management. As a history major, communications was never in my bingo card of sorts. So I think just get your voice on air and see if you love it, and then you learn how to do all the rest.
You have to find your people. And I don't think even if you're not a commuter like I was, you might live on campus and still feel a little lost, even homesick, or you don't have the comfort of the friends that you knew for since childhood. So even though that you're going to make friends because you're living with people, you're eating with dining and all that that goes with living on campus, you still might not have that feeling like this is where I belong. An activity like the radio station or one of the other, we used to call them, student government organizations, or any of the what we call the fourth floor groups, student newspaper, anything that really just grabs you and as an interest, you'll find your people, the like-minded students and faculty that's going to be the one that excites you to be a part of something. And that's number one. That's how you're going to go from a lost freshman wandering around thinking, like I was, like, what am I doing? I had no idea, to feeling so comfortable and so I found my place and my people. So I think that's number one. I don't know if that answered only part of your question. Advice for people in broadcasting, is that the other?
Yeah, new students looking for a career in broadcasting.
Wow. it is, you really have to just dive into every aspect of it because it is changing at such a rapid pace. The whether or not it's the internet and the computer aspect of it, or any of the technology that might be, even if you're not into tech, if that's not your thing, you have to grab onto it. And I don't think I'm speaking out of turn, because younger generation people are just is what they grew up with. So it's not so foreign to say, like, just grasp all of that. However, don't skew all the tried and true methods too. Read everything you can get your hands on. Fact check everything. Listen to everything. If music is your thing, open your mind to listen to everything. As far as the jobs go, I wish, Lana, I had the crystal ball to tell you where it's going to go professionally. I think because of the digitizing of everything and how that is pushing the broadcast mode, so many radio stations are now just, that's the most important thing to them, is that they get people who are downloading their apps, and this is how they're getting their advertising money, because it's changed everything. So if you have the wherewithal to stomach all of that, you just have to keep going for it. Somebody closes the door on that, learn something else and get in there. I mean, it sounds so ridiculously trite to say get your foot in the door, but back in the day, we would literally make tapes to send out to radio stations. Here's our demos and whatever. I don't even know if that's done anymore. How you're going to find that job in radio or television is changing dramatically. But all I can say is, like, if you have let me think of the right word. I want to say a niche, something that really excites you, whether or not it's politics, cooking, choose a topic. If this excites you, learn everything you can about that and just use that as your you can propel that into something else, because it does seem so segmented now. If you're a heavy metal expert, and this is what, push it. This is what you have. If it's music or a certain kind of news, go for it. Because I think there's so many different topics that they'll say, whether or not you're going to have a gardening show, or you're going to do this, or you're going to do that. Like, how many podcasts are really focused on one thing only? So become an expert about something that excites you, and that I think you can use to your advantage.
Biggest thing I would say is make as many friends as possible. Explore different avenues. Embrace the butterflies, I would say. It's one of those things that, I was a student athlete through my years here. And if I was to follow the traditional student athlete route, I would never have met the friends I made, and I would never have had the opportunities I have had. The amount of people I've interacted with, I have multiple jobs because of the people I interacted with. It just gives you that certain thing. Just explore everything. Don't be afraid to try something new. I wanted to be on TV, and the fact that I was able to talk sports for a long time, for 5 years on Monaco State, is because I had the opportunity to do it through radio. And I would have, if you asked me 5 years ago if I was ever get involved in radio, I would have said absolutely not. And I'm glad that I didn't listen to myself about not getting involved in radio, because I want to explore different things. So my biggest advice would be try new things. Don't be afraid to try something new, and be be comfortable being uncomfortable. That's something huge that you got to do.
I've been telling all of my friends in theater this the last like year is to join the station. There is something for everybody. In radio, and especially at WMSC, if you just love to talk, you can be a DJ and you can have a show, or you can be on somebody else's show and just talk and get your thoughts out of your head, or expose people to new music, or talk about things you love. Like, that's what I do on the Morning Buzz. I get to talk about this this kind of more niche thing that I just have constant exposure to.